Hey team, on today's episode of the Football Feast, I sat down with Marcus Gentile. Marcus is the head strength and conditioning coach at Fulham United Football Club and has worked with many top A-league and NPL players. In today's episode, Marcus and I discussed strength and conditioning for footballers, we discussed rehab, nutrition for rehab, and we reviewed all the copper and Euro action. I hope you get something out of today's episode. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So this is, thanks for stepping in on episode 2 of the Football Feast, Marcus. Really excited to have you on.
Thanks for having me, man.
I guess where did it sort of all start for you? So soccer, where's the journey begin?
Well, the long story is back in 2012 or so, I transitioned from playing AFL, which I was very good at, and all my Italian mates were playing soccer. So I went and started at Fulham United. And I played under 13s all the way to Resis there. Touch of first team, but yeah, and honestly, that was my soccer career in a nutshell. I did a little bit of state. I made the team, but I was rubbish and I didn't get many minutes. Other than that, I literally played at Fulham. And then 1 year in, I want to say 2018 or so, my current boss, Sean Baker, funnily enough, was running our pre-season strength and conditioning. And I reckon I was year 12, if I'm not wrong, and I loved the preseason. Like, don't get me wrong, he killed me, or he killed us. But I loved having a structure. I loved talking to him about what are we actually doing with these running drills? What are we trying to achieve? Why are you teaching me how to sprint? Like, what are you doing? And that was the first time I'd ever heard of a strength and conditioning coach. And even just like meeting him and the type of person he was, telling me about PEAQ, man, I just fell in love with it straight off the bat. And yeah, I was year 12 because the year after I went into a Bachelor of Sports Science at uni. So
wow.
that's the soccer and strength and conditioning story. They actually overlap. They're the same story, funnily enough. So yeah.
I think that's really cool how sort of you've just bumped into someone and they've just given you that bug. And sometimes it's about like you just meet the right person at the right time in your life and all of a sudden it sets you off on the right direction, doesn't it?
And it was just like, you know what it was as well? It was not to blow wind up his backside, but like his personality and like how he went about it at the time. Like I was 17, 18. So I was young, and like just like his way of getting everyone involved and making us enjoy things that you usually hated in preseason was huge. And like I loved that. So to see not only the job, but also the type of person, I was like, I want to do that. Like, I love that. I want to be something similar. And then, like, obviously, we're talking. He explained how you can work with proteins, etc. And straight away, like, I was like, bang, love it. I want to be that. So yeah, it's just a bit of full circle because now he's my boss. So
yeah, beautiful. Yeah, no, that's cool. Do you know, something I reckon that I'd really like to point out, and I think a lot of people can get from this, is sort of how what you can do is different to what like sort of an amateur team going out with just, like their first team coach or whatever, who might not be familiar with what strength and conditioning can actually do for the players and get them ready for the season, different to what they're like going about things sort of just, off their own playbook.
Yeah, so I guess there's two ways to look at it. One's like the gym side, and one's kind of the on-field running and pre-season running stuff. The biggest thing, and we'll talk about the running first. The biggest thing is, look, old-fashioned coaches and people that don't truly understand strength and conditioning will just run you until you can't run anymore. That's like the go-to thing. And like we know as S&C coaches that, cool, it might work for your one session, it might work for your 2 sessions, but maybe by the 5th or 6th, someone does a calf or someone does a hammy, someone does a groin, like whatever it may be, because you've just killed them. There's no understanding workload, no understanding volume, high speed running, and all the literature everywhere literally points to how much of each thing you can do and how to build it up. We talk about progressive overload, of course, and all things. And this is where those amateur kind of coaches or just head coaches, they don't understand that. They see it as fitness, whereas I would say what we do on the field is actually injury prevention and energy system development. So I'd scrap the word fitness and just say we're doing one or both. We're developing an energy system for the goal of playing football. And depending on where we are in our pre-season, we're doing different things. But we're also trying to keep your players on the park as best we can with just the running side of things. And then that kind of brings me to point number 2, which is the gym side, which not many players do, and not many teams probably respect enough. But and putting those two together really can have a really big impact on player availability throughout the season. It's all going to want to be strong and not get pushed off the ball and all that jazz. But at the end of the day, none of that matters if you're injured. So for me, what an S&C coach provides is 2 things. It's we keep you on the park as best we can, or better than an amateur coach, but we also prepare you without flogging you for the demands of football, because we don't need to flog you. We just need you to work hard. There's a difference. Yep. So I think I hope that answers your question. I think that's the big thing, or 2 things.
Yeah, no, that's definitely. So I think it's hard for players or hard for coaches in that to understand, like, you can really overload the body, even like neurologically, and the body will crash. So like
Absolutely.
will crash, and then they're not able to train as well as they could if you guys were like periodically, like you said, progressively overloading them. And then you can really push them a bit further. And also I wanted to highlight how you capture numbers as well. So like you do like the testing battery, where you capture the detail, the numbers of what that player can do at the moment. And then you'll do like a battery at like other points in the season, I'm assuming. And then, you know, if you had a group of players for multiple years, you could actually have some really good data and show them how they're progressing, those players, especially like a youth player, getting them ready for the first team or something like that, and really get them to those levels.
Yeah. So to answer that, at Fulham, we have GPSs. So I'm very fortunate in that sense. I know not many teams have them, but I'm very fortunate to have it. And the way I do it is I've been with them for 4 years. So to touch on what you said, over the years, especially players that have been there, I can see what their maximum match demands are at any point of the season. So I could look at, let's just say, at round 12 against top spot, my centre back had to run 12 Ks and 1,000 meters high speed. That's the most he did in a season's game. That's the most he did. So I know next season, that's his 100%. He needs to be able to do that. So in a pre-season, I want to get them to about 130 or 150% for the week. So that's how, using previous data, I know where I need to get certain players by the end of their pre-season to prepare them for their in-season demands. Yeah. And in terms of testing, I don't necessarily do testing for any, I guess, total distances or anything. There's no testing for that. My testing is usually, if we're just talking strictly on field, a yo-yo test variation, which is just for energy system testing. And a quick test, they can do it at the start of a session. They're not spent, or they're gassed at the end, 5 minutes off, and they're ready to go for training. So I would do an energy system test, and that's more so if a player gets injured, I know their level, so I know what they need to get back to, and I also know what their total distances, etc., should be. Yeah. So it's kind of two.
Yeah.
Does that?
Yeah, absolutely. Also, sort of, I guess, because you pointed out, like, you can improve their performance and also their injury, making sure they don't get injured as much. So performance-wise, I mean, I understand it a little bit, but so like the strength stuff in the gym, you know, you can improve like their force output. Is that correct? And that potentially makes them faster. Yep. So, and then,
the big thing to understand, and this is probably what a lot of just people in general don't understand, not even athletes. Strength underpins everything you do. So being stronger can mean a few things, and it's not necessarily about the amount of weight you can lift. That is obviously important, but there's a few neuromuscular adaptations that happen that are more important than the size of your muscle and how big you are. So when you get like training like bodybuilders, that shits me, man, because because really you're actually just doing nothing. You're actually making yourself worse, not because you're getting bigger, because you're just killing yourself with volume, and you're actually bringing yourself closer to an injury, right? So if more people understood that strength underpins everything, low reps is the best. It's the best way to do it. 3 to 5 reps, get strong. The biggest thing that I'd point out, it's called rate coding, and it literally is just the body or the brain sending more nerve impulses to the muscle, and what that does, or doing it quicker, I should say, and what that does is it increases or decreases the time to output force. So if you can prove that with strength training, that's probably your biggest thing to increasing your ability to produce force quickly, which directly translates to jumping, to sprinting, to pushing someone off the ball, kicking, shooting, whatever. That's like the biggest thing, as well as making it bigger. You can have more nerve impulses. With faster nerve impulses, again, rate of force development increases. That's probably the two big things I'd say for strength, and why strength is number one. But yeah, that's why strength's important.
Yeah, nice one. That's cool. So we sort of touched a bit on the Ask a President. Now you're nervous about it. So what are you covering there?
So I'm actually covering. I've called it from injury to performance. The role of periodization.
Just so everyone's aware, ASCA is.
It's the Australian Strength and Conditioning Association, and like the governing body for strength and conditioning coaches in Australia. But yeah, my presentation is the role of periodization in an ACL rehab. So outside of football, my biggest thing is definitely ACL rehab. I love doing it. It's where most of my clients come from, if they're not footballers. And I think educating other S&C coaches on how to go about a rehab is super important, because I've definitely made mistakes, but I've also learned a lot from other very well-known rehab coaches, and kind of getting to put my own spin on it is kind of cool.
Yeah, very good. No, that's exciting. So how long does it take to come back?
That is the question that everyone asks, and you never know until you come back, right? But look, honestly, like the straight up answer is anywhere between 6 months and 18. Like, some knees just respond really well, some don't. Some have more issues with the operation. Like some people do their meniscus, their calf, LCL, PCL, and like it just depends on so many things. Man, you can even talk about how many sessions a week are they doing in their rehab? What's the intensity they train at? What's their nutrition like? Their recovery protocols? Then some people have issues with their foot after, and it's like, oh, now they need to see a podiatrist. That takes 3-4 weeks. There's another month. Like, man, it's like I can't answer that. I'd love to answer that.
It sounds like a puzzle.
Yeah, and it's the unfortunate thing is, too many people say 9 to 12 months. Too many people say that. So when you get someone who they're going to be more than 12 months, you can tell pretty early on. It's really hard for them to trust you and to get buy-in from them, and for them to believe you when you say, look, this is going to be a longer rehab, like for XYZ reasons. You got to keep going. Like, and I know it's hard, but then there's other, like I've trained like professional athletes. By 7 months, we're on the field doing return to play. Like, so it can literally just go either way. It can just, So it's a tough one to answer. Tough one.
I know. So from my side of things, with like nutrition things to keep in mind, if anyone wants to know that, like when we go into injury and we're basically off the field, energy balance is really crucial there. So if you're not eating enough, basically during rehab, our body needs heaps of nutrients, and especially protein, because we're rebuilding, and it's actually very energy taxing. So it's actually taking a lot of energy from what we eat to actually rebuild and repair. So when people aren't eating enough, then you're actually probably going to do a disservice there and take your body longer to recover. And if we eat too much, our body is going to put on adipose tissue and unwanted things that we don't need anyway. So then it's going to take even longer to come back and get body composition right and ready to go again. And fueling wise, protein's key. because when you're not using the muscles, when you don't use it, you lose it. So, and we know by like heaps of studies by now that, you know, increasing that protein intake, withdrawing your carbohydrate intake a little bit there, we're keeping our protein there for longer. Keeping our muscles there for longer and like minimizing that breakdown, which is probably going to go a long way to helping that mend and, you know, getting back on the parquet.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people go wrong with the nutrition in their phase between injury and let's be real, most people have surgery for ACLs. So in between injury and surgery, nutrition goes out the door. People put on weight, like you said, and it's just like you can do so much in that period to help the rehab not be 18 months, and people often don't, and that's actually where a lot of mistakes are made, to be honest. So 100% agree. I think people underestimate how big nutrition is in rehab, and it's why a lot of my clients, I'm going to use the word force. I don't force them to work with our nutritionist on site, or at least get some advice from them, because it's so important. It's up there with what I'm doing. It's as important as like what I'm prescribing and what the physio is prescribing. It's so valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think also now with like the whole gut microbiome stuff, it's really like exposing everything we eat and how unique it is to each individual. Like you could eat a piece of broccoli and I could eat a piece of broccoli, and you know, you might get inflammation in your gut, and that's broccoli, right? Like that's meant to be like gold standard. Like everyone should be able to eat trees. But it's totally unique. So yeah. Okay, so S&C, I've seen you work with some junior athletes, and some older athletes as well. So what's sort of the differences you would have for like your junior athletes, for instance? How they train?
So the biggest mistake I think a lot of S&C coaches make is training junior athletes like adults. And also, to be honest, a lot of parents make the same mistake of thinking that their kids are adults.
Yeah.
For me, the approach to a junior is very simple. Can you get them to move and do the fundamentals better? Can you get them confident in the gym? And can you get them doing things safely? It's that simple. You can start to teach them some things like running mechanics and all that, and that's all good and well. But at the end of the day, they're going to hit puberty. They're going to change. Like their lever lengths, their biomechanics is all going to change, and it's probably going to go out the door. So if you can get them to lift well, start lifting heavy relative to them, and start being confident in the gym, that goes a long way for their late teen years where they're almost fully developed, or at least their body essentially is. And then they can start be trained, like at 17, 18, you can start training them like an adult and like a professional athlete. You know, you can start doing all the fun things you see on Instagram and all the cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's the big difference. For older athletes, it's almost, I don't want to say the flip side, but older, I'm thinking over 30, let's just say, just for a simple number, it's more about
me feel old.
Yeah. It's more of a management process than it is a performance process. Because at the end of the day, like we said before, being available is more important than getting better, right? They're probably as good as they get at their sport at that age. So you just want to keep them on the pitch. So, you know, for them, fundamental strength training, any old injuries, niggles, whatever it might be, just trying to rehab that or rehab it more so, is what performance looks like for them, in my opinion. So yeah, that's probably the biggest difference.
Yeah. So what would so say you get a new junior come out to you, signing up, hey Marcus, I'm keen to start, I've never done this before. The parents are pushing, they want their kid to be next Haaland or Messi or whatever. What are the fundamentals basically? What do you want them to focus on or get good at?
For me, there's the if anyone's listening and they know Sean Baker, my boss, he does a talk. I'm pretty sure it's on the ASCA website called the Systematic Approach to Programming, and he literally just goes through the fundamental movement patterns not for kids, just in general, that everyone should kind of be doing in their programs.
So the fundamentals. So do you mean like hinge movements, squatting, bench pressing?
Absolutely. So just generally, there's a hinge, there's a squat, a lunge, variation, a thrust, which is usually just a hip thrust. There's like horizontal push and pull, vertical push and pull upper body. And then the core variations are rotation, anti-rotation, I put bracing in the list. I think that's very important. And anti-lateral flexion. They're all an anti-extension, if you want to label that as well. But again, they're all essentially compound fundamentals. So like that's not including all your very basic things like calf raises, adductors, abductors, hamstring. Like you're hitting most things throughout it, but they're movement patterns. They're not exercise. They're not all the exercises you pick, I should say.
Right.
So there's a little bit of an art to it, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Righto. So I thought we'd touch base a bit on the Euro and the Copper. I don't even know how the Copper's finished, to be honest with you.
It's actually, I've got it right next to me. It's 0-0. First half of extra time is about to finish. It is by far the worst game of football I've watched in some time.
Dude, I don't really enjoy watching this Argentina team, hey? Like,
I just don't enjoy watching the Copper, to be honest.
Haven't you? Oh, so a couple of the games there, like I've enjoyed watching Uruguay and something like the passion, like from.
But you know what? They've got an attacking coach. Bielsa is like entertaining. I wish he took on a club team, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, because he's just all about scoring. I love it. They are good to watch. You're right. I agree.
Yeah.
But Argentina are, I mean, they win, so you can't really say much, right? They're boring, but they win.
Yeah, that's the problem I've got there. Is so like I don't enjoy watching how they play. I feel like it's very like slow, really slow tempo. You know, they're sort of just set up to sort of block things up and then just give Messi the freedom, Di Maria, to sort of turn it on. Which I mean, Messi's Messi, so you can do that, and he can do that.
In this game,
yeah. Is he injured?
He did his ankle in this game. He was injured coming into it, and then he did his ankle before, so he came off in the minute, I think it was. So I don't know what they're going to do. They're probably just going to go to penalties by the looks of it. Very boring game.
Yeah.
Not like.
Yeah, I was going to say, like when you seen that first game this morning, like that was good. And Spain, man, I'm really enjoying how they play.
Spain are good to watch. Spain are good. Like they might hold a bit of possession, but they'll try do things with that possession. Whereas I don't know, I feel like watching like the Copa, like Colombia, they're winning games and stuff, but like I'm watching this game, they just have possession and they're not doing anything. Yeah, and it's a bit, it's almost just, it's hard to watch, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's not as enjoyable. But I felt like England did that most of the tournament until they switched over to that sort of back five, back three with the wing back thing. Then everything else was so boring. I can't believe they made it as far as they did, even though they had like a great run.
They had the magical run, didn't they? They not only did they get the easiest of the teams, we'll say, they got away with things. They just like last minute goals, equalizers, whatever it was. Like they just got away with everything, which is why I thought they were going to win today, just because it was a fairy tale kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like that as well. How's Bellingham's bicycle kick?
Unbelievable, but like they had no right to be in that game. Like
had no right.
Like they played like even Watkins' goal. I reckon you give him that shot 100 more times, he wouldn't finish. Like to hit it that perfectly on that angle. Yeah. Like couldn't do it. Even like Palmer's goal today, like unbelievable goal. Yeah. But they relied on that. They relied on an unbelievable goal.
Yeah.
To score. They couldn't just score a goal. Whereas Spain, good football, break lines, and they score. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. And you know how sometimes you're watching a team and you know it's coming. Like they're peppering the goal a little bit. Like things are working. They've found spaces where they need to find space. Yeah. Like you said, England's not. You don't see that with England. Like it's just like these arsey goals, which just sort of like come out of nowhere and. And considering like the players they've got, like, you know, you got Harry Kane, top goal scorer of Germany, Bellingham, La Liga's player of the year, Foden, England's player of the year. Like how it almost feels like Southgate's just like holding him back and not allowing them to play and let them what they can do.
It's the same as France, though, right? Like France play horrible football. Like they are the most boring team. Like they got to a semi-final without scoring a goal themselves. Open play goal. Like that's a ridiculous stat, and yet they've won a World Cup. They've made a Euro final. They've made a World Cup final and lost, and they made a semi-final, and they don't score goals. But it's just football, right?
Yeah. See, this is the problem I've had with the Euros is like you've got France doing that, England doing that, and like there's just anti-football everywhere. It's like Jose Mourinho's like playbook's been handed out to everyone, and everyone's just gone, oh yeah, that wins cups, that wins tournaments, it gets us into the late stages, it keeps my job on for the next. It keeps my job.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So like South now will absolutely keep his job.
Yep.
But just like, mate, you weren't in the game. You lost 2-1, but you weren't in the game.
Yeah.
Like, same with I wish Germany and Spain were on opposite sides of the draw.
Yes.
Because that was the finals. That game was I don't know if you watched it.
Yeah, man.
That game was the final, man. It was unbelievable. The extra time winner. That game was phenomenal. That was attack. Oh, it was it was the dream. But oh well, that's tournament football, right?
Yeah, exactly. Standout players for the tournament. Who you got?
For just the Euros or both?
Yeah, go Euros.
I think. I mean, the very obvious is Yamin Lamal. You can't go past that. That's just ridiculous. But if we're talking like actual standout, man, Rodri is. He's got to be. I put up a poll on my Instagram today for the Ballon d'Or. Man, he's got to be the best. I can't. You can't argue with me. He has won more trophies this year than he's lost matches. Think about that for a second. Think about it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Do you know what? I think he's such a key linchpin for that team and any team he plays in because he's so secure and so good at stopping the transitions that he frees up Lamau, frees up Nico Williams to just be 17 and just carve up people.
Do your thing. But you think about famous Spanish midfields, right? Busquets, Xavi, and Iniesta come to mind straight away, right? Yeah. That midfield doesn't work without Busquets. Busquets is probably, he's probably getting recognition now, which is a little bit late, but he's probably, arguably, the greatest sixth defensive mid of all time, right? Because he's the same things. But Rodri's probably as good.
Dude, I can't believe his actual movement for the size of him. Like, for how big he is, for him to close down those little players and the little spaces and stuff, it's really hard to... It's deceptive. It's like Kante, but bigger.
He's just so unathletic, but it doesn't matter. Like, he's the perfect example of if you're good enough at your sport, it doesn't matter what you do in the gym. Like, he's just like... And it kills me because it's people like that make me get less work. But I'll tell you right now, man, like, players like him are just 1 in a million. They're just phenomenal. Like, can you imagine if he was athletic? It'd be stupid. It'd be unfair. It'd actually be unfair.
It would, absolutely. By the way, anyone that's watching this, just stick to yes and see you're not Rodri. Get stuck into the gym.
Get in the gym, because seriously. But yeah, other standout players, it's tough because like England made the final. No one in that team stood out to me. No. You look at the semi-finals, France, no one stood out. Yeah. Netherlands, Gakpo stood out to me.
Yeah, he's all right.
He scored 3 goals, I'm pretty sure. He got him to a semi-final.
Actually, Xavi Simons. Dude, he's a player.
Yeah.
He's
good. But I reckon he only had 1 or 2 good games, if I'm honest. And he had in those was brilliant. Don't get me wrong.
There was one game where he was benched, and they looked like they were getting done, and they brought him off the bench, and he changed that game, man. Like he just, you know, those players that just find those spaces in between the lines. Like, you'll play against a team where like all 3 lines are just hard up against each other. There's just no space in there. But there's those little David Silvers and players like that who just seem to like just glide into these little pockets and they just hide in there. And
Yeah,
yeah, I feel like he's that.
he is, and he's brilliant. But I don't know about standout player. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know about
That's
that.
cool.
Tough call. That's a tough
cool.
call. But honestly, other than for me, the two Spanish boys and Gakpo, there probably isn't another standout player. So you probably would give it to him.
Yeah, I feel like we're missing someone. I feel like there's a team that's really just came out. Turkey, Arda Güler.
Yeah, that goal, man. It's got to be goal of the tournament. It's got to be goal of the tournament.
For him, right? Like, Lamine Yamal, obviously, what he did is amazing, and he's getting spoken in the same breath as Pele at the moment, like what he's done. But he's played a full season with Barca, notched up some games and stuff like that. Arda Güler came into Real Madrid's team, like last 8 games of the season when they've already won La Liga. So he just slots into a team that's just sort of like having a laugh, stroking around. No pressure on him, and he just kept scoring. I think he scored like 8 in 7 games or something like that, and he's like a midfielder. But him in this tournament, for me, I was like, he just really stepped it up. And Turkey would just, every time he got the ball, he looked to do something dangerous. And I really love that in a player.
Yeah. Well, the game that he didn't play, Turkey looked crap.
Yeah.
They looked like they didn't know who to give the ball to.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing. Like, did he look so good because the team was Gula-centric? You know what I mean? Like, as opposed to like Spain, anyone could have scored. Anyone could create, anyone could score. So does Yamal look even better if he plays for Turkey? You know what I mean? Because everything goes through him.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's interesting.
You know, it's,
I don't know. I hear you. I think sometimes like teams have to have that. Like some teams have to have that X factor player. You know, like Mbappe or whatever. And I feel like Arda Güler was that for Turkey. But as a unit, I really like Turkey overall. Like they worked really hard and they got through and you know, I think they could have gone deeper if they weren't unlucky in the end there. But I also like Austria.
Yeah, they were interesting to watch, weren't they?
Dude, they're exciting. I like the little I like the pressing stuff that Ralph Rangnick does, and I kind of like the story there. I like the story how Ralph like got done in at Man United, and everyone's like, "Who is this guy? No coach." And then they've turned up to this tournament and actually like put on a bit of a show.
They just went for it. They were entertaining. That's all you can ask for, right? They were entertaining. So if we look at the Copa though. Standout players, man, it's just the most basic answer you ever get. But James Rodriguez, what the hell? 6 assists.
Dude.
Like,
I was at Brazil. I went to Brazil for that World Cup, and I was out at the game, the Uruguay versus Colombia game where he scored the goal of the tournament as well. And man, like the whole stadium erupted, and like Uruguayan people and Colombian people like hugging each other and stuff about how good it was. Which I still think Tim Cahill's goal was a heaps harder technique, by the way. But
James' goal is
You're saying that?
James' goal is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in a football match ever.
Yeah. So my thing with that is he chests it first. So he takes the sting out of what's happening, like uses his chest and he's got it under control. And then when he hits it, it's just crazy. It's still crazy. But for me, Tim Cahill, a 40-yard pass from out there, and it's from like the shadows. And then goes into the sunlight. So when he's looking up, that's pure sunlight there. Ball coming over. He hits it with his left foot, his wrong foot, on the volley, past the player's head. The ball's traveling past it, hits on the volley, and it just smashes into that underbar of the crossbar.
I just think James he's had to generate his own force on the ball from that far out. And the keeper knows the shot's coming and you've still beaten him. Yeah. Whereas Cahill's, the keeper's not expecting a shot, left foot volley. So Cahill's hits the bar and goes in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it's like somewhat central. Whereas like James buries the top corner.
Yeah, that is a bit.
That's the thing
that's
for
fair.
me.
But Cahill just hits it so hard that he doesn't stand a chance. Just the technique of it. That's for me the technique of trying to hit a ball on the volley from 40 yards.
I know. On
your wrong foot. And even have the tenacity to do that. Just be like, I'm going to do this, hey.
I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Do you know what? Left foot volley?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't have the guts to do it. That's for sure.
Nah, not many would.
That's for sure.
Yeah. All right, what about flops? teams that flopped it in both. I'm going first, Brazil.
Yeah, dude, I saw a thing. Also, sorry, let me just check the score. I think Argentina are 1-0 up in extra time.
Cool.
Brazil, I saw what was it? Endrick. So Real Madrid have obviously signed him.
Yep.
In 90 minutes, you might have seen it. In 90 minutes, he had one successful pass, and it was the kickoff pass. Come on, man.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
Argentina 1-0 up. Yeah. Anyway, yes, Brazil flopped, but I think Brazil are always a little overrated coming into a tournament. I think their tournament was 2 years ago World Cup. Like that was when they were actually primed, ready to play, and then I can't remember who they lost to. I think it was Argentina.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like they're going through a bit of a turnover at the moment. So there's a lot of old players getting tossed out. You've got, Vinny's coming in, Rodrigo, Endrick, them three at Real Madrid with a couple more years under their belt. Like this next World Cup, that could be a lot better. Yeah.
I agree.
But it's weird looking at their team now. Like, you go back to that World Cup, I think it's 2006 in Germany. They roll out with Ronaldinho, Brazilian Ronaldo, Roberto Carlos, like just kings of the game, right? And you look at that team versus the team they're rolling out with now, and it's just they don't have as much depth, and it's just it's not.
I think they lack a little bit of like that world class player throughout the pitch. They're very front three centric, whereas like in previous times they're very 4 out of their best 11 are world class, not their front three. So you've got quality everywhere, which is where the best teams shine, right? That's where your Spains and stuff win games because of that reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Who are flop though? Just trying to think. Oh, I mean, it's a tough one, but I did call it Croatia. I'm sorry, I'm Italian. Our team sucked.
Yeah,
we had no right to get out of that group over Croatia. Like our team is dreadful. How we got out of that group over Croatia is like, and you know what? Your greatest player of all time is in his last tournament, and you've not managed to get him out of the groups. That's not good enough.
Yeah, I feel like Croatia have pushed it really hard. I feel like every tournament for the last 10 years, last decade, Croatia seem to end up in the final or the semi-final or the quarterfinal. And I kind of can't work out how, because it's like they've got the Modric and I think Rakitic was there and Brozovic, and Kovacic, so they've got a pretty good center. But everywhere else, it's sort of like
that's not it.
Who's this guy? How'd he turn up? And some of them pull out performance of their life in games they need it. But whereas that Italy team, I feel like you've got some really good players there. Like, who's that centre back? Bastoni?
Bastoni. Our back four's all right, but the team's just so young and just like we don't score goals, man. Like we don't have the players to score. So you shouldn't be winning games. You shouldn't be like Croatia. Yeah, everyone should lose to Spain in that group, but Croatia should have beaten us, and they should have beaten Albania and finished on 6 points anyway.
Yeah.
That's for me underperformed.
That's a good call.
I know they always overperform, but to get knocked out in that group is still underperforming for me.
Yeah.
Who was the other team?
That group was definitely the group of death, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I looked at
Spain
that.
Had the hardest run.
Spain?
Yeah, if you think about it, they had Italy, Croatia, Germany, France, England. They had the hardest games you could script, pretty much. Georgia was their only easy game.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually. Spain has done this really hard through this tournament, and they deserve it. They definitely deserve it.
And their star midfielder, Pedri, went down in the quarterfinal.
Dude, I was thinking that as well. I was like, okay, they've got Pedri out. Gavi's on the bench. I think he's just coming back from an injury or something.
Yeah,
he's pretty good. Still young, but pretty good. And then Rodri's down at halftime, and they've still run the show.
It's all system, man. They all know that. They all get it. It's all system, which is what a good tournament team does.
Yeah. But I think you're onto something about that number 6 as well. Like they churn out some quality number 6s, and I think that's just a centerpiece.
just the centerpiece, man. Like they just dictate games, and like, man, you can go to any local league game, and the best player on the pitch is usually the six. Usually, in the best, at least they're just dictate game, and your team either goes with them and you win, or the rest of your team not up to it and you lose. And Spain are up to it, so I don't know. Yeah,
it's held like the quarterback. Like, it reminds me of the quarterback. He literally just makes the throws. Did you watch Tony Cruz for Germany? He does it for Madrid all the time, but like how he just collects the ball, just rolls around, does what he wants, collect 99% passing accuracy, and just stroking the ball around the pitch. Love watching him play.
Like it almost makes you feel like, as someone who plays, I'll watch him and I play the same position, and I'll just be like, "Wow, Marcus, you are horrible at football." Like this guy is just on his left, right, 45, whatever you. Player on his back, player trying to whatever. He'll just spray a ball, 95+% passing accuracy. Man, I can't hit that ball freely. Like, oh man, he just to appreciate football, you just appreciate watching him play, right? Yeah, he's nuts.
Definitely,
he's nuts.
Yeah, and retiring early.
And retiring,
So I think
he's what 35, so it's about right.
Yeah, it is about right. I do like how he said he just wants to retire on top, and he's not going to, churn out those last years.
I think he could have gone and got some money in America or Saudi, but for him, he's got the money, man. He doesn't need more money. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He's won it all.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
He's won it all.
I think, so we'll go through, I've got like short fire questions to run through.
Yeah.
And we'll get through those. So, favorite player? Who's your favorite player? Oh, is that game ending?
Oh man, what a question! Jeez. Okay. My favorite player. Dude, that's such a hard question. You can't ask that. That's crazy. Honestly, I'm gonna go out and say he's my wallpaper on my phone. It's Virgil van Dijk. Like, he is, for me, he's the epitome of a centre back. Like, he is. It's a bit biased. I'm a Liverpool fan, obviously. He's the best centre back, maybe bar Maldini, of all time. And Ramos, sorry. He's a top three. Wow. He's a top three.
Massive call.
Maldini and Ramos are number 1 and 2. But like, I just love him as a person. The things you see on even like social medias, on like even like Liverpool's YouTube channels, their trainings, their games, their warm. Like, he's a leader. He's modest. And he's unbelievable as a player. So I love everything about him.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think it was an interview with James Ward-Prowse, which I was watching the other day. And he was talking about him at Southampton and how he said that, he goes like, he's talking about all the extras that he does and all the free kicks and stuff like that he works on. But he said how, like VVD, he does no extras. He just strolls in, doesn't come early, doesn't do the extra gym work most of the time. Like, he's just sort of like just turning up, just built for it, and just rolls up and just does the thing, and it's so good. Yeah.
Me and my mates used to say, like, when we'd watch games together, we'd just say the dude's in second gear all the time. So like every now and then you'd see him actually sprint, and you'd be like, oh, that's what third gear looks like for him, because he's so ahead of the game.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be more than second gear. Like, he's so far ahead of everyone that he's just cruising around the pitch. It's like an NPL player going to play State League 2. He's just chilling. He's just so much better than everyone that he's just cruising. What about you? Who's your favourite?
All the time in the world. My favourite? Zidane, actually. Zidane made me fall in love with the game. So, I used to play, and like my dad and my granddad played, and I was always at the soccer club, and as a kid growing up and mucking around, like, it'd be dark and we still were kicking the ball out there. Yeah. But actually watching the game, one of the first games I ever watched was literally the Bayern Leverkusen final. I think it was at Glasgow, where he scored that side volley.
That, I know, what a goal. Yeah.
And that was literally one of the first games I watched. And I just fell in love with how him and Raul and Guti and stuff like that, and they just made it look so effortless, and we're just strolling around the pitch and it looked just magical. And I was I love the way that Zidane plays, and he's obviously got the same haircut as me, so that's 10 points.
So that's bonus points. Yeah, I think if I was to pick an older player, it'd probably be like Pirlo for the same reason. Obviously, growing up as an Italian, watching the 06 World Cup, I was 6. That's my first memory of watching football. And my uncle was on the big projector, and just understanding that he doesn't do anything special, but that's what's special about him. He just does simple things really, really, really well. And that's what's special about him. Also, Argentina just won the Copa in extra time. Sorry, just off topic, but so that's another trophy for Messi. But yeah, that'd be we'll go with my 2 answers, I reckon.
Yeah. And the reason I didn't like him was similar sort of thing as the hair. Like, I wish I could have that hair.
Too much hair, yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Just jealousy.
That's straight up jealousy. Nah, exactly like you said, though. Like, he's just so effortless and did it all simple, and and great hair. Sensational hair.
Great hair.
Okay, so which team do you support? I'm thinking Liverpool.
I did say that before. Yes, definitely a Liverpool fan. As well as Napoli, because that's where I'm from. Yeah, those 2 teams. I do love Borussia Dortmund, and so I go for Liverpool because I grew up with my dad being a diehard Liverpool fan. I go for Napoli because my family's from there, so that's fair. But in terms of me, who I've picked over the years that I love watching and everything, it's Borussia Dortmund. Like, when Klopp was there before Liverpool, I fell in love with how they played. Marco Reus would have been my favourite player at the time, if I'm honest. I just loved watching him play. Got his Guernsey in my room. So in that 2010, 11, 12 period, I loved Dortmund. Should have won a Champions League final, but don't get me started. So so I have 3 teams technically, but if they all versed each other, I'd be going for Liverpool number 1. So at the end of the day, I'm a Liverpool fan, and
it's funny. I feel like
you're a Leeds boy.
Leeds. My family's always gone Leeds. Yeah. I feel like Dortmund's that team that sort of like no one can hate. Like, it's impossible. I don't know anyone. Yeah, I don't know anyone who dislikes Dortmund. I feel like
I love their Guernsey. I love their fans. The way they play's entertaining. Definitely. Yeah, I love watching Dortmund play. Yeah, I love it. Do you go for anyone else? You just
I get around Real Madrid as well, because I was obviously the Zidane connection, and I've just enjoyed watching them over the years. I don't know. I just like it's bad because it's sort of like picking that team that wins all the time thing. I don't really like that, but I just like how they play football sometimes. Like, some of their teams through the years, like the Cruz and Modric connection and stuff like that, I really like it when it's played really well. And I can appreciate that. Like a lot of people hate Manchester City because sometimes they can be a bit boring, but I actually like watching what they can do, and the rotations, and I agree. And I can see the beauty in it, and even looking at how they're setting up to stop transitions happening and things like that. I like that kind of thing.
You got to appreciate the football, not the entertainment. Is what it is.
Yeah.
You appreciate that. If you're like me in that sense, like you are, you'll love those teams.
Yeah.
But they always win, and that just shits me. But it's fair enough.
Yeah.
So, what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. All right. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Dude, I reckon invisibility. I reckon it'd just be fun. You can just do whatever you want.
That's the second time I've had invisibility.
What's that?
Yeah, Alex said invisibility as well. Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. I expect people to say flying or super strength. No,
I was going to say, unless you give me a better idea I haven't thought of, off the top of my head, invisibility, man, you can literally just do whatever you want and nobody would bat an eye because they don't know what's happening.
Yeah, true. Fair enough.
Wow, what's yours?
No, it's your show. You're the guest. You're the guest. I'll work on that. I'm going to come up with one now. Next episode, I'm going to have one ready to go. That's the twice I've been asked. Pasta or pizza?
Oh, you can't ask an Italian that. Are you serious?
I've done
Pizza.
that. I've done that. Pineapple.
Pizza.
It's
Definitely.
blasphemy for you guys, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pineapple.
Don't have a nunde here. She'll kill me. Pizza,
Did you see?
definitely.
Did you see? Like, I think it was the Albanians or something. They were holding like pineapple or something like that. Oh no, they're holding the pasta and they were snapping it.
I did see that. That was funny though. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's good banter, isn't it?
Good banter. Yeah, it's good banter. Pizza. Pizza.
Pizza. What's the pizza? What you go to?
Honestly, any variation with prosciutto on it. That's the. Every place does something different, so there's no real name for it, but whatever the prosciutto pizza is at the place is one. That's the one.
All right. If you went down a different sporting path, where would you have gone?
As in, like, played a different sport?
Yep.
Mate, it would have been AFL. Absolutely, it would have been AFL, man. I was looking back, I was frustratingly good at footy, and I definitely should have stuck it out. I was very, very good at footy. I would have been one of those high impact small forwards that just runs around, lays tackles, goes in the midfield for 5 minutes, and then pisses off back into the forward 50. I would have been. I was very skilled. I was a bit chubby though, but I'm sure I would have lost weight in my teen years, which I did. Yeah. But I was very skilled, and honestly, when I was younger, I was, at least throughout the time, I was pretty athletic. So I would have done well in a AFL kind of environment. But I'm a little bit short.
Who do you go for then? Who do you back?
I'm a Hawks boy. I'm a Hawks boy.
Hawks. Nice.
Yeah. Right. Kind of back on the up. We've had a couple of stinker years, but we've also had some very good ones. So
yeah, that's true. My dad he goes for Port now, but before Port was around, it was Hawks.
Yeah, right. Back in the day. Jeez.
Yeah, winding back the clock. Last one, Messi or Ronaldo?
Oh, dude, not even a question. Messi. It's not even a question.
Messi fan.
Messi, absolutely.
I'm a Ronaldo person, and that's because I just love the determination and the work that he's put in, and I love the discipline and sort of the message he sends.
I agree.
And I think both of them is crazy.
But if I'm building a team in their prime, it's 2012 Messi, and it's not even like.
Do you know what, like, my thing with that is, like, he has to be in a team where the team, well, they both basically do, I guess, but like the team has to support just him to do what he wants, which is fine because what he did was like 100 goals or whatever in that season. But yeah, I feel like, if you are building a team, you've got to have a lot of people that just set him to do his thing, which is fine because what he does is amazing.
Yeah, I just think both teams do that though. Like, kind of set.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree, but at the same time, man, I'm giving the ball to the best player on my team every Saturday. So
yeah,
if they score goals, I'm giving them the ball and I'm working for them off the ball. Like,
Yeah.
Do you know what I like this season, how we've seen sort of both of them head off in no man's land, basically. And you see like the top goal scorers of La Liga this season, the top assists and stuff. It just makes you really appreciate the craziness of their numbers and how consistent they were for 20 years or 15 years or whatever it was. It's stupid. I saw something the other day and it was like, I can't remember what year it was. I think it was like 2014. And it was like, imagine coming third top scorer with 22 goals. And I can't remember who it was, but Messi and Ronaldo had 30 plus in the league. Like, and it's just like, you score 22 in any other league in the world, you're top scorer. Like, it's not even a debate.
Yeah.
And they came third. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
That's the standard they set, man. That's silly.
Yeah, it is crazy. Before you leave, did you want to mention sort of like how people could find you, or sort of if they wanted a strength and conditioning program, where can they go?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way is Instagram. It's at A1_athletic performance. or my email is info@a1performance.com.au. They're the best two ways to contact me. I recommend Instagram. Have a look at my page, see if I'm the right fit for you. But I definitely work with all athletes, predominantly footballers, and any rehabbing athletes, I should say.
Yeah, cool. So if you want to get faster, Marcus is your man. I think we all want to get faster on the football pitch, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, team, I just wanted to summarize some key points from today's episode. And I think it's important to highlight what S&C coaches do, and they're sort of experts at keeping players on the pitch for longer, and being able to maximize their training levels, more trainings in, higher quality of training. They're able to continually adapt the player and make them progressively get better and better. And they're also able to sort of improve their ability to accelerate, de-accelerate, become an overall more robust and explosive player. And as you can see, on game day, a player that's able to change direction faster, and a player that's able to jump higher or more quicker and win those balls, especially in the final third or the defensive 18-yard box. Players that can do that are going to win games, and they're going to defend quicker, stop shots, get the shot off. Really key moments in games, and I think that's really important to realize. Also, we sort of discussed nutrition for rehab, and Marcus agreed that nutrition is really important. And like we discussed, energy balance here is really important to go into rehab with, because so eating too much, like we said, you're going to come in a bit larger, or you're going to have more weight onto you. So when we're going into when we're coming out of rehab, we've got that body weight to lose, and we want to really get that player into training, ready for game day. And I'm sure the player does as well. So, it's important to keep that in mind. Also, not eating enough. If you're not eating enough, you're not getting the nutrients in there that's going to support that recovery happening. And you need those nutrients in there to do their job. Recovery is extremely energy taxing, and it's got massive demands on what it needs and the requirements it needs. So the food that's coming in, a lot of it is still getting utilized. But not only that, realistically, you want to prioritize protein in this part. So you're not doing as much work on the track or on the pitch. So you can withdraw the carbohydrate intake. That feels not necessary. Increase your protein intake to meet energy balance and really support the recovery and the muscle recovery. And we're going to minimize muscle loss here, which is really, really good. So if you can minimize the muscle that's lost, you're going to get back onto the track and get sprinting and get playing quicker. A good thing to think of there is sort of aim for about 20 to 25 grams of protein in every meal. I also looked into a few studies around collagen, because collagen's pretty hyped up lately, and people are getting on collagen supplementation. It really doesn't have the study data to back it up at the moment, and there's a lot of placebos that are outdoing what the collagen does in studies. So its effectiveness isn't really there. Future studies might show different, but currently, right now, I'd save my money on those. On the brighter side, there is positive study results showing that around 5 grams per day of gelatin and around 500 milligrams of vitamin C can actually promote greater collagen production. So there is some wins there. If you want to supplement, then you can go there. But generally, 500 milligrams of vitamin C you can get in just by eating oranges and capsicum with meals and tomato and stuff like that. So you should always promote full whole foods first before we go reach out to the supplements. But there's study data to back that up if you wanted to go down that track. Another thing we want to do is support sort of bone strength. And ways we can do that is, daily calcium coming in via the diet. And with calcium, you got to think your dairies, your milks, yogurts and cheeses and stuff like that. Bony fishes are also really good. So like sardines, tuna, leafy green vegetables. And then to support calcium being absorbed in the body, we need vitamin D. So vitamin D, best way to get that's just that sunlight exposure. And Andrew Huberman, if you listen to the Dr. Huberman podcast, he harps on about first sun of the day. So if you can, great, get out there for that sunrise. Around 15 minutes per day is what he talks about, his best exposure limit or exposure needed to get enough in. And that's going to do you some really good and help those bones get nice and strong and prevent breakdown. Another way there, which sort of combines with our strength and conditioning topic, is that heavy weight training. So heavy weight training encourages bone remodeling, and basically within your bones, they're constantly remodeling themselves. So by adding really heavy loads and really moving it hard and fast, your bones are going to actually remodel themselves, and they're going to make up a really, really, really stronger, complex interior, and that's going to prevent, impact injuries, and it's going to make them really stronger and less brittle over time, and really going to be helpful on your longer term life, really, and avoid things like osteoporosis and hip injuries and stuff like that. So that's it. That's it for today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said at the start, please give us a like, share, subscribe. That'd be great. Thanks.
That's all for today, guys. You can follow The Football Nutritionist on Instagram and X, and jump onto our blog at thefootballnutritionist.wordpress.com. Remember, keep fueling for success and kicking those goals.